This is Vilfredo Pareto. He was a 19th century Italian economist who studied wealth distribution. And he made the observation that a minority of input produces the majority of results, and this became Pareto's rule, or what marketers commonly refer to as the 80-20 rule. And it speaks to the fact that most companies derive the vast majority of their revenues and profits from a small percentage of customers. You can apply Pareto's rule to all kinds of things. 20% of your sales force closes 80% of your deals. 20% of the carpet gets 80% of the wear. I think it certainly applies to brand advocacy, where only a small percentage of folks who participate as brand advocates are going to produce the lion's share of recommendations and positive ratings and reviews. The key then, of course, is to try to figure out who are these people, who are these needles in the haystack, and then to allocate a disproportionate share of your resources toward engaging them and influencing the desired behavior on their part. So obviously that's easier said than done, but certainly something to keep in mind. And it leads us to this next slide, and here the idea is to try to understand the commonalities that exist among your best brand advocates. Because maybe then you can go out into the world and look for others just like them. So this is what I call blueprinting the ideal brand advocate. Of course, this presumes that you understand everyone's level of influence in the first place. So here as an example is Jane Jetson, our typical consumer of the future. And for Mooningdale's and what's this other one, Lasers department store, for them it would be good to know what makes Jane tick, because she's out there singing praises of their brands, right? Where does Jane spend her time? What is her geodemographic and psychographic makeup? What motivates her to go out there and actively proselytize the unconverted, if you will, about the need for shoppers to flock to these two retailers? If you can crack the code on Jane and the other 100 or so Janes that can share a lot of that may share a lot of the same characteristics and attributes, and you'll be in much better position to not only identify other advocates with high advocacy potential, if you will, but you also know how to approach them in a way that's likely to engage them and that's likely to resonate with their specific wants and needs and interests. So here I want to borrow another basic tenet of data-driven marketing improvement, and that's the notion of customer segmentation. Only here, of course, we're talking about segmentation not for the purpose of marketing and selling to prospects and customers, but for the purpose of getting them to say nice things about your brand through various relevant channels, whether in peer-to-peer networks or retail websites or even in person, the old-fashioned way, as folks did back in the 1940s. So it's sort of like the pig in Animal Farm who said all animals are created equal, but some more than others. By the same token, not all brand advocates should be approached in the same way. And as we've already said, not all brand advocates are going to carry the same amount of weight in terms of moving the needle on driving website traffic or purchases or new customer acquisitions or whatever the performance metric happens to be. So think about segmentation. Also sort of think about it in terms of personas. And there's a couple of companies out there known for their customer-centric approach, like Best Buy, who've really done some phenomenal work in the area of creating these types of personas. So here are just a few that I came up with, and I'm sure there's many more where those came from. But town criers, and I may be a bit of a town crier. I like to be the first to know, the first to tell others. You derive satisfaction by being the source of late-breaking news. So as a brand, how can you engage them? Well, maybe you can create this promise of early access to new content, product development, and give them the tools to sort of play the role of town crier, right? Or here's another persona, Joe Cool, right? So they feel attractive associating themselves with your brand. So think about that. What can you do to sort of continue to accentuate that sense of coolness? Well, you can give them content that they can share that helps them proclaim their coolness, give them the tools that will help them further enhance their association with your brand, so on and so forth. Reward seekers. So here's the proverbial carrot. I think I forgot the stick. But the idea is that some brand advocates are actually motivated by rewards. You want to give them something in exchange for their efforts. In most cases, you want to steer clear of providing anything that might be perceived as tangible compensation. That tends to cheapen the endorsement and undermine, the veracity of the recommendation. because people will just sort of think that it's pay for play. And moreover, FTC regulations state that companies must explicitly state if they compensate customers for their participation in promoting the brand. So that's something to be aware of. But I think in most cases, a token of appreciation like a virtual badge that an advocate can post to their profile page, that can go a long way. Although again, a lot of advocates aren't going to fall into this particular persona, the segment. They're not going to care about any sort of acknowledgement of their activities. This is the Greek scholar and engineer Archimedes. He said, "Give me a place to stand on and a lever that's long enough, and I shall move the world." And that's really the notion of leverage, right? And you sort of have a lever in this illustration. So what is a lever? It's a mechanical device that allows you to lift loads well beyond your natural capacity. And that's really what leverage is all about when you're trying to build your brand through earned media and through brand advocacy. In particular, I think the place to stand on is your installed base of customers, many of whom already love you and think highly of your brand and are naturally eager to tell their friends and family about it. And the platform is one like Zuberance, right, which allows those customers to very easily, in a sort of a turnkey manner, disseminate their recommendations and their ratings and their reviews, across the social web in one fell swoop. So